I call the Tuscarawas Valley Local Board of Education meeting, April 12th, in the Trojan Center with Zoom live to order. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gooding? Here. Mrs. Junior?
Here.
Mrs. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Overton? Here. Mrs. Berger?
Here. It's online as well as at the table. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation. Oh, boy. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Well, Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the opportunity to come this evening as the Tuscarawas Valley School Board to do your work here in this school. Father, we know that there was an accident nearby. And Lord, with all the things that's going on at the school at this time, we just pray for whoever was involved. We pray it was not a student, but we just ask that you would be with those people. Lord, we continue to lift up Mr. Spielman as he continues with the chemo treatments. We just pray for healing there. Tonight, Lord, we are so thankful to have lots of people here, and especially the students that we're going to recognize tonight. We just ask a special blessing upon them and the families. So, Lord, as we make decisions tonight, help us to make the right ones. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Mr. Murphy, is there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
No, the agenda you have tonight is accurate. You will notice that under item 412, a list of policies. Policy 5336 is an addition from the agenda that you received on Friday, but the agenda that you have in front of you tonight is accurate.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 2, public participation. Is there any requests? Having that there's no request for public participation, we'll move on to our agenda, starting with item number 3, the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Berger. At this time, I'd love to have Mr. Phillips, our high school principal, honor and recognize our high school students of the month.
Thank you. Once again, we have 3 great students. I guess I'll say it for all 3 of them. They're all great. And the one good thing about the rain is I was able to be here, and 2 of the students were our baseball players, so I guess there's always a positive, even though we wanted to play baseball tonight. So we'll go ahead and start. I'll start with the athlete of the month, Tyson. Come on up. I picked him because I figured he could give his speech first. I know that Griffin can give a speech, and I've seen Tanner get up and be goofy and talk anytime. So, just a short one. After I'm done. So Tyson is a senior. He's the son of Craig and Kelly Stallman of Bolivar. He played football this year and is nominated for Athlete of the Month for his efforts in baseball so far. He enjoys playing ping pong. And after graduation, he plans to work for a year at Brewster Dairy, save some money before he attends Albany College to study radiology. So, congratulations. You don't have to. All right, fine artist of the month, Griffin McConaughey. Griffin is also a senior. He's the son of Jeff and Beth Kiggins of Bolivar and Sean and Rachel McConaughey of Akron. And he has done many things. He played soccer, is in Project Lead the Way, band, the drama club, and speech and debate. He enjoys spending time with his friends and family and being part of the engineering program. And after graduation, plans to attend the University of Akron to study computer engineering. Excellent. Awesome. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And our student of the month is Tanner Phillips. He is also a senior. And he was nominated this month for School Spirit, which when I heard he was student of the month, I was like, come on. But then when they said school spirit, it makes perfect sense because he was probably the most upset about not being able to go to basketball games because of he wanted to be in the student section and lead the Black Plague. He played football. He's playing baseball and a member of the varsity club and Hope Squad. Enjoys playing sports, especially baseball. And he plans to go to California University of Pennsylvania to get a degree in either business management or education and also play baseball. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Tanner, I thought you were going to give a speech now.
No, he can do it, just like it doesn't bother him.
How about a cheer?
Tanner, Tyson, and Griffin, man, thank you guys. Congratulations to each of you and to your families. You guys represent our high school senior class really, really well, and we're just all very proud of you. So very honoring tonight and very fitting that you were selected as Students of the Month. So congratulations to each of you and your families. Let's give them one more round of applause. The second item under the superintendent's report is that Dr. Derek Baranski and I would like to just give a brief overview of our learning recovery and extended learning plan. This document is actually also one of the agenda items. It's actually item 7 on the agenda. I'm going to stand up because I just feel a little bit better when I'm talking and presenting. I'm going to stand. But you've got this in front of you. This document is also posted on our district website. It was due. The governor had requested. It wasn't a requirement, but the governor had requested that all Ohio school districts put together and submit what he called a learning recovery and extended learning plan. Each district could create this as they wanted to. The educational service centers did put out a template that we could start with, and I just want to say a huge thanks to Dr. Baranski for taking the lead. And what you see in front of you is really his work, representing all of our district people and our staff and our kids, but taking every piece and part and pulling it in this document. The one thing I would want us to focus on too is the first 2 words that says learning recovery. In my mind, and maybe people would have lots of different perspectives on this, but in my mind, that it kind of insinuates that our teachers and our children have done something wrong. And that is not the case. There is really, in my opinion, there is not a need for a learning recovery plan for Tuscarawas Valley Local Schools. What there is a need for is continued planning and individualization and personalized learning approaches to meet the needs of every student. That's what we're after. The extended learning piece does take effect, and you'll see at the very end where we're looking into that. So I'm going to highlight a couple things here, and then I'll ask Dr. Baranski to share a little bit more in detail, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. The first page is just simply a message from me, but it really does summarize our whole approach to this and what we've done over the past year with COVID and how we've responded, and we've tried very, very hard to be proactive through this entire thing. The third page is an introduction, and that really has been dropped in kind of at the governor's request, and information that we needed to. It includes a statement from him and then the number of cases from COVID, and that was since March 4th. We've not updated that since. Speaking of updated, this is a document that there's 100% fluidity to. Very similar to at the beginning of the year or in July and August when we were putting together the Safe Start reopening plan. All of that's subject to modification and change based on our needs, based on the work of our kids and the needs of our students and staff. So the next part is about what are we doing and what will we continue to do to identify academic needs. Well, a lot of different things in there. Everything from a student and staff family survey that we shared and put out last summer. Opening up the community help desk, which is always now on our district website as a source of assistance. We, in all school districts, utilize the kindergarten readiness assessment. You'll see that what I want to point out is, again, here's evidence. Now, there's always room for improvement, but Tusky Valley continues to do well. If you look compare the fall of 2019 to the fall of 2020. So during the year of COVID, what happened? Tusky Valley went from being the 5th highest scoring district in the county to the 3rd highest county in the district, or in the county. 3rd grade fall testing is another measurement. That is something that the state of Ohio does across the board, kind of referred to as the 3rd grade reading guarantee. And again, Tusky Valley moved from being the 6th highest scoring district in the county with proficient or above to the 3rd highest. Now again, we're not really thrilled with the percentages there, but when you look at how we are standing in comparison to our neighboring districts, we're pleased, and we want to continue to get better. Dr. Bransky, anything else you would want to add to this section? And I know specifically when we determine academic needs, we use MAP, the measurement of academic progress, as a tool K-12. And I know that's something that we pay very close attention to, and we're trying more and more to create individual goals, student learning goals from those. So Derek, anything you would want to add so far to what we've shared here?
No, just to reiterate, our scores are really following where we've been, so that we've not seen any drastic drops or anything like that. We've already known that there were some issues and some kinks that we've been working out, especially with our literacy plan that we've been doing for the past 2 years. So we're raising literacy, changing literacy practices, and so that's really what that data is telling us already. You going into the next section, Mr. Murphy?
Yeah, so right now I'm looking at page 7, and at my direction, Derek did go ahead and highlight these because we wanted, and it's not something that we necessarily want to highlight, but if you're looking at the bottom of page 7, that chart, we're looking at students that are on track and measuring from fall to winter, our growth index, 0. If you have a score of 0, that means you're on track. Anything above 0 is even better. So you'll see that we're not where we want to be at kindergarten. We're not where we want to be at 3rd grade. We're not where we want to be with 5th grade and 6th grade regarding that, if that makes sense. Now we could go into a whole lot more detail, but again, the purpose of this is to guide us as a district of where we need to focus our time, effort, and attention. If you flip to page 9, this is referencing math. So similarly, kindergarten, 2nd grade, 4th grade. Our math is not where we want it to be. Again, 0 is on target. Moving through the next several pages, part 3, starting on page 11, this is where we start documenting our approaches to filling the academic gap. And again, this is not about students doing something wrong or our teachers doing anything wrong. Nothing has gone wrong. It's just there was some missed instruction. But this is not anyone's fault. It's just what we want to recognize to continue to improve. So we use our student assistance teams. Our SAT teams meet on a regular basis. And I really commend our principals for working through that process. As I mentioned earlier, and Derek could probably share more about this, but we're really doing our best at the bottom of page 11, targeting growth and setting learning goals using the MAP data that we have available to us. And our principals are leading those discussions with our teachers, looking at the data that we have in front of us. We use what's called a multi-tiered system of support. So we believe here at Tusky Valley that there needs to be enrichment opportunities and intervention opportunities for all kids. We're not all gifted and we're not all special needs. I have special needs in some things and I might be gifted in some other things. So we need intervention and enrichment across the board. Then it moves into the curriculum piece and then high yield teaching strategies. We just finished the last chapter and final discussion of our book study this year using Bold School with Weston Kieschnick, and that has been filled with great discussion about instructional strategies that we can and need to continue to use throughout the district. Our school district has small classes overall, and our special education caseloads are where they need to be, especially if you were to compare to other school districts. The next couple pages, I think really, I'm not going to read all of that, obviously, but that's page 14 is our goal page for the 2020-21 school year. So again, this is an opportunity where we're trying to be as proactive as possible and say, hey, you know what, even in light of COVID, in light of whether it's a remote model or a 5-day in-person model, or if we were a hybrid, which we've never been, thank goodness, what are we on track to do? What is our ambition for this school year? Well, page 14 lays that out for us very specifically, and I've kind of commented about some of those things. Moving into page 15, this district is fortunate to have the community partnerships that we have, and we continue to forge and strengthen those relationships, but there's a healthy, very healthy list there. And of course, our family partnerships. Our TV Connect series has maybe not been as robust this year as it has been in the past, but it's there, and we will continue to grow that in the future as well. Item 4, or part 4, this then gets into, well, what is our approach to identify and address certain things? And one of the things that the governor wanted every school district to do is identify the academic gaps, if you will, and needs, as well as social emotional. So part 4 speaks to social emotional. You'll see the kinds of things that we have done and want to continue doing to bolster our social and emotional health for all kids. Part 5 is professional learning needs. That's really speaking to what are we doing, what do we need to do for our staff, and specifically our teachers. And part 6, this is the extended learning opportunity. So this is where we're still ironing out. We will be meeting with building principals and Office of Student Services later this week to take a look at what is our summer academic coaching and social emotional coaching. What could that look like? We're not going to, Tusky Valley is not going to be a summer school program, if you will, a traditional, here's a 3-week summer school or a 5-week summer school program, or we're going to do a summer school in June and in August. First of all, my experience is no student really wants to sign up for summer school. Would your child want to come to be invited to come to summer school? No. But what we're trying to do is based on what his or her individual learning needs are, based on standards, especially in reading and math, we will partner that student with a teacher who has the want to work one-on-one or in a small group setting to build that specific standard. Not just a carte blanche summer school opportunity and we'll feed you and we'll bus you and send you home, and then we're not sure what progress you're making. We're really excited about it. This is a new approach that we're taking this year, but the whole summer coaching, if you will, academic and social emotional coaching, that's the piece at the top of page 19. So I know I've rambled on quite a bit here, but a lot of work went into this document, and at first it could be viewed as a have-to, something that we had to put together. A lot of districts, that's exactly how they're looking at it, like it's a one-page document for most districts. Truly, it's a one-page document. Under Dr. Veransky's leadership, it became this document, which became meaningful for us. And if we're going to do something, we want it to be meaningful and have substance to it that we can really use. So I'm really thrilled about it. I know that, again, it's not perfect and there's lots of things that we can keep getting better at, but Derek, anything that you would want to add?
No, I think you've covered it. And again, I'll reiterate that we moved forward with our plans that we had. We altered things. We knew we needed to talk about high yielding teaching strategies, so that's what we did. But even last May, when we were in completely remote, we were still meeting with every grade level and principals about changes for this year and what we were going to push forward. And so I think that's really helped us. So this document was pretty easy to put together just because we never shut down. We just continued the work. We kept doing what we needed to do. And I think that our scores are reflecting that. So yeah, I don't have anything else to
Questions
share
from
with
the
that.
board?
I have a few.
Sure.
And I apologize, but I'm on the student activity committee, liaison committee for student achievement. So I've done some research on this, and I've had to attend a couple meetings, and I'd like to ask Derek some specific questions. First of all, on page 7, and it goes through these graphs that Mark went over.
Sure.
Could you explain the graphs just a little more detailed, and specifically why some are in yellow that are negative and why some are not in yellow that are negative, such as on page 9?
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's back up to page 6 real quick. If you look at the
Okay.
top of page 6, we give 2 assessments locally. We used to give a lot of different assessments depending on which building you were in and which grade level. We really cleared that up, and we've taken a district approach to everything. So what you see on page 6 is Ames Web. Ames Web assessments are looking for those basic reading skills, those foundational skills students have to be able to succeed and comprehend. And so what you see there is the first triangle is where kids came in the fall. And then when we did winter testing in January, you can see the growth there. So what we're doing is growing the green, decreasing the red. And across the board, that our teachers are doing that. So our foundational skills are great. Moving into page 7, this is where we get into the MAP scores. MAP is more of that big comprehension, how are students doing on grade level specific standards. So what we've done, if you look at the top of page 7, this would be ELA. At the bottom is the bar graphs. The diamond is expected growth. That would be where, or the norms of where a kid should be at that grade level. The blue bar is how our cohorts of kid actually performed. And so you'll see anytime that our students did not reach that triangle or that diamond, then you're going to see a negative score. And so the further away from 0 that we get, the more concern that we have. These scores that we're looking at are comparing all students across the nation, so living in a pandemic. Now, MAP did come out with a different report that you could use during COVID, which really basically, it made schools look a little better because the scores didn't look as bad. Mr. Murphy and I just chose not to do that because we don't want to just lay out excuses for why we are not performing. We want real norms. And so that's why, so what we've done is we've highlighted in yellow where we feel that there's a weakness that we need to really target. And those are conversations. I mean, looking at these 2 graphs right here on page 7, this was an hour-and-a-half conversation with our staff. So we really delved in and looked at specific students, and that's where those student learning goals come into mind. So why is kindergarten at -2? Well, let's talk about where's that happening at. Is it a specific skill? Is it something that we try to teach during remote that shouldn't have been taught during remote? And so that's where we have those conversations at.
And the reason that some are yellow negative, well, if any of them are negative, we highlighted them in yellow.
Page 9, there's 3 that are not.
Yeah, so for example, you'll see like 11th grade -2. That would be one, for example, that we just know enough context that that's not a concern because by 11th grade, we've lost a lot of kids to Buckeye, we've lost kids to CCP, so that score may only be 20 kids that were tested. So that's probably, and we think about teachers, we talk to principals about what's happening in those classrooms, and as a district, it's not a concern. It's just there's not enough of a range of kids to give us a true, accurate
Okay.
measure. Yep.
So if we highlighted it yellow, it was because we were truly concerned with that. If it was negative, like Derek said, 11th grade, -2.31, we really were not concerned,
Yeah.
given the situation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that one. The other thing, first of all, I want to say, I've read this report multiple times, and Derek, you've done an awesome job.
No, thank you.
The questions I have nothing to do with you. It has to do with the education that I've had on the subject, and I just
Sure.
want to make sure that I'm understanding our document correctly. I spoke with Dr. Hunt. He's the ODE, Ohio Department of Education, Executive Director for Field Relations, and he's in charge of this monitoring this plan, so to speak. And he talked to the OSBA about it, and it talked about impacted students, needs, resources, approaches, partnerships, and alignments. And you've done all that, and it's a great job, and I really appreciate that. But one of the questions I have, which I really can't find and I really don't quite understand, Derek, is that when he was asked, do you believe all students need additional support? And his response as a quote is, I would say that all students need something this summer, whether it's academic or socially, emotionally. And so my response to you is, we're saying, really, we do have some kids that need some help, and we're giving them these things in the back. But what you're saying, from what I understand and what I'm reading, is really we don't have every student working to grow this summer.
Well,
Is that correct?
Yeah, and the extended learning plan really talks about what specific students might need additional support in the summer. Not every student is going to need support in the summer. That doesn't mean they don't need support now. And so that's where those SAT, those student assistance teams come in play. In January and February, the principals-led meetings, we talked about every kid that goes to school here. And we looked at every data piece on them. Are they good? Are they not good? Is there a concern? And looked at all of the data tagged to their name, and that's where that's that multi-tiered system of support. Where do they go? Are they going into just to enrichment during RTI? Do they need an extra intervention put in place? And again, our kudos to our principals and our counselors. They do a great job of that. So no, we're not saying that. I don't know that I disagree with him or that quote. I think we are providing services for every student, but some of those students, they only need the support during the school day here. We don't need to extend something into the summer for every single kid.
Okay, so when we get our testing back in June, which I think there's a deadline when we're supposed to get our testing back, if I understand correct, and it's in June sometime. If those dates or those numbers are totally different than what we project them to be, are you going to have a meeting in June then to add people to the additional, or you will just wait till fall then to make a new plan?
Yeah. Now, because of the way the windows fell this year, we have our third window of map testing in May. So they'll actually take they'll take that assessment right before we go on summer break. Those are pretty accurate, about 80 to 85% accurate as to how a student is going to perform on a state test. And so that's the data that we're going to use at the very end of the year.
Okay.
If we would get state test results, I mean, teachers are asking us for those. The principals are looking the morning that they come out. So, I mean, if there are some red flags, sure, that we might have a conversation about some additional students that might need support. We use those results much more, though, to guide professional development. Where do we need to go the next year? Is there a curriculum issue? Those tests, they measure cohorts. They measure how the school's doing. They unfortunately don't give us a lot of information as far as diagnostics of each kid, though.
Right.
And so we take that all into consideration. We use I place much more value on our local scores and our local data than those state test scores.
Okay. I didn't realize we had one in May.
Yeah.
And Derek and I had a conversation that lasted over an hour on map testing and how it is phenomenal what the staff does and what the administrators do with this material, and then how they individualize it for the gifted, the middle, and the kids that are struggling. So they are doing a wonderful, wonderful job, and I hope someday you can show that to the board, because it is really just so unique and interesting about how it all works. So those are all my questions. I appreciate it, and I thank you for doing such a thorough job, and a job that will do our school district really well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Derek.
Yep.
Very, very much. We're going to keep on keeping on. Again, this is a guide to keep us moving forward, and a lot of great work poured into it. So I appreciate Derek's work as well on this, and so thank you. And I don't think there's anything else that I have to share in my report, so that would conclude my report, unless there are additional questions or comments.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Now moving on to item number 4, new business consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve items A 1 through 14?
I make the motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion?
Couple things. Item 2, we will certainly recognize these folks, especially the ones that are retiring. I want to draw your attention to Mrs. Starkey. Mrs. Starkey has been a math teacher, one of our teachers here in our district for a long time. I had the opportunity to connect with her today, and I did not mean to make her to start crying, but she started crying the moment I walked into the room, because I think she just felt that she knew why I was there. And I wanted to thank her in advance. But we will look forward to, at the end of this month and first part of May, we're going to have a voluntary breakfast for staff by small group, by building, and honor our retirees and folks for their years of service in our district. And Carol is one of those. I wish her the best as she retires. Jamie Bieber and Tori Jones and Jeremy Mackin are all resigning for different reasons, and personal and family obligations and adjustments and priorities with their family, and perhaps relocation for one. So I certainly wish them well as well on behalf of our board. And then, of course, item 12, that's a big list of 21, it was 20, now 21 policies that, with the board's approval, those will become adopted and formalized this evening. And again, we are adding that 5336 care of students with diabetes, which is really no change in how we address and deal with students with diabetes. I'm sorry if I said disabilities, diabetes. Those are the couple things that I wanted to just highlight.
Mr. Phillips, please call the roll.
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Gooding?
Yes.
Mr. Overton? Yes. Mrs. Berger?
Yes. Item number 5, is there a motion to approve a 3-year administrator limited contract for Corey Street Assistant Principal, 212 days, effective August 1st, 2021 through July 31st, 2024?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Other than we thank Corey for what he's doing for our primary.
I was
And
going to say, I don't
our-
want to have to repeat the same thing for both, but I'm, for items 5 and item 6,
Sure.
I'm just, it's my pleasure on behalf of our team to recommend the continued employment of both Mr. Dickerhoof and Mr. Street. I'm sincerely thankful for all that they do and all that they continue to learn and the support that they provide to our administrative team and to our district.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Overton? Yes. Mr. Gooding?
Yes.
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Berger?
Yes. Also, item number 6, is there a motion to approve a 3-year administrator limited contract for Greg Dickerhoof, Assistant Principal, 212 days, effective August 1st, 2021 through July 31st, 2024?
I make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I think we
Same.
had it. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Overton? Yes. Mr. Gooding?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Berger?
Yes. Item number 7, is there a motion to approve Tusky Valley Local School District's Learning Recovery and Extended Learning Plan at the request of Governor DeWine, emailed to the High Department of Education and posted on the Tusky Valley Local School District website by April 1st, 2021, subject to change according to available data and/or additional school improvement initiatives as needed?
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
Second. Sorry.
Any discussion? I think we had some good questions. Please call the roll.
Mr. Gooding?
Yes.
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Overton? Yes. Mrs. Berger?
Yes. Moving on to item number 8 is our leadership reports. We'll start with Dr. Vransky. Is there anything you'd like to highlight from your submitted report to make corrections or additions? Okay. Mr. Phillips?
Nothing.
Mrs. Knowles?
We're all testing.
Mrs. Clements?
Tomorrow, that's what I was gonna say, starting tomorrow, big day. We started last week, so stay testing. I'm actually happy about the cooler, kind of yucky weather. 80 degrees, they think it's sunny, and that's done. So,
Good. And anything on grounds for Mr. Spielman? Do you know?
No.
Nothing's different than-
No, not really,
Okay.
other than now we have another Sandy Valley school bus in our parking lot. We have 2 Sandy Valley buses, and I'm very appreciative, which needs, as a reminder to me, I've contacted Mr. Fisher, our superintendent, the superintendent of Sandy Valley, and verbally talked with him, but just FYI, Sandy Valley's been very gracious. We're just down several buses for different reasons, and again, no one's fault. But Sandy Valley has come to the rescue and allowed us to borrow a couple of their buses temporarily, so really appreciative. We've had some wastewater treatment issues, electrical issues. Mike would be able to tell you much more, but we're working through those too. So,
Well, that's nice that they do that. I'm sure that's confusing when they're driving down Tusky Valley roads with Sandy Valley school signs on the bus.
yes.
Are you on the right?
But you know what? No one has called me yet, so I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's called principals, but no one's called me.
I just can't reach them because the walkie-talkies and the buses don't work
Oh.
with our system, so it's really hard. We just have people beep at it every time we go.
Nice. Thank you. Moving on to item number 9. Next regular Board of Education meeting will be held May 10th, 2021, 7 p.m. here in the Tusky Valley High School Trojan Center. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
And please call the roll.
Mrs. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Gooding?
Yes.
Mr. Overton? Yes. Mrs. Berger?
Yes. That concludes it.